this. I feel a bit trapped if I stand behind here. Well, first of all, thank you very much, Greg, there you at the back, for inviting me just a couple of weeks ago to come and share with you. I've been pondering a little bit, what is it that I should share with you? What is it that will inspire, will assist, will help, will empower you this morning, and then I hope that you'll take back with you to your family, to your networks, to your friends. And so the words that I want to share with you this morning, I'll get to in just a moment, but I do just want to bring to the attention of the audience here that we do have Channel 7 News who are here just to record what I'm saying, and I don't believe they're going to film anyone here in terms of their face at all, but I just wanted to bring that to your attention. So if we do get time to ask questions, so just be aware that they may still be filming at that point in time. There is a pro-abortion rally happening in Sydney today, and so they're just wanting to cover what's happening in Sydney as well as what's happening here. So just for your information. Okay, I don't know about you, but this sign here at the back, made for this, is spot on, absolutely spot on to what I want to share with you today. That you and I are made for this time, made for these issues, made for right now. And that was even confirmed to me as I walked into the front doors of this building, and as the sliding doors, glass doors were about to open, I saw the word influence in orange. Influence your world. And influence is in fact the topic that I want to share with you today. And so there's a little bit of confirmation coming to me today around the thought that I believe I really want to share with you today. Influence your world. Wherever you are, wherever you come from, whoever you know, whoever you can speak to, whoever you can reach, we are called to influence those people, those groups, those individuals. And so before I talk about what inspires me and what motivates me in what I do, let me just share with you just ever so briefly a little bit about who I am before I go into sharing with you what drives me as an individual. So I actually grew up in a Christian household. My father is a minister, has spent most of his life working in lots of tough places around the world with the newly emerging church and church leaders. So places like Indonesia, places in China, he even went to North Korea many times. He went to those tough places in the world to help others. So I grew up in a Christian family, in a family that was focused on others, focused outside of our own self as a family. And that really influenced me significantly, so much so that I have basically had a lifetime of helping and serving other people, whether it's been in the role of cooking fish and chips as a part-time job when I was at school, to when I graduated university as a physiotherapist, helping and serving in the public health system, to working as a personal assistant, working as secretary to various people in universities, in private enterprise, all the way to helping people in the TAFE system transfer their practical skills into their ability to train others, particularly those going through a transition of career. So a lot of what I've been doing in my life has always been around helping others and supporting others to be successful and encourage others to do really well in life. So the change for me in terms of stepping into politics came at a really interesting point in my life. I was 36 when I first became pregnant with our daughter, Laura. We had been married 11 years at the time. I married a Penrith boy, Mark, and we still live out in Penrith. And last weekend celebrated 23 years of marriage and still going strong. Bring on that 25-year anniversary, so I want to have a good holiday. So when we were 11 years married, we decided now was the time to have a family. And so my husband was involved in politics up at that point at the local government level. And I didn't really pay much attention. For me, it was great, he's out of the house 2 nights a week. I can do what I want to do for those nights and, you know, do my craft or hang out with girlfriends or whatever. But the real clincher for me came when I was a couple of months, I'm probably about 5 or 6 months pregnant, and we were in the car together. And sometimes in life, something will happen, like literally a light bulb moment will happen, and it kind of wakes you up, shakes you up, and it sends your life in a different direction. That is what happened to me in this example I'm just about to share with you now. He's driving the car and we are travelling down Maxwell Street in South Penrith. You have an aha moment because you almost remember hearing the birds sing. It's so crystal clear. He took a phone call, hands-free of course, and it was a lady in South Penrith who had 4 children, 3 of whom had visual impairments. And where they walked from home to school and back again, there was a section of footpath missing. And they had to step onto the side of the road to walk with a flat surface between home and school. And she was quite concerned for their safety, as you would be as a parent. And she rang my husband as a local counsellor and said, look, is there anything you can do to fix this missing footpath section? And he said, leave it with me. And then the next day when we were at home, that phone call popped back into my mind. And I said, what happened with that footpath issue? And he said, oh, that got fixed today. I said, what do you mean it got fixed? Like, no government moves that fast. Like, that's just impossible, right? From one day to the next, an issue's fixed. No, that can't happen. He goes, no, it did. I said, how did you do that? He said, I picked up the phone, I rang the general manager, and I explained the safety issues that were impacting these children. And I said, is there anything you can do to rearrange priorities of council to go out and quickly fix this issue? And the general manager said, leave it with me, and then in the afternoon it was done. And when I heard that story, that was my light bulb moment for me to go, that's what I want to do for the rest of my life. Because being pregnant, I was actually about to see the next generation step foot on this earth. And what was I going to do to make this world a better place for them? Life was no longer up to me anymore. Life wasn't about me and what I wanted to do and where I wanted to go. Life was now about the next generation. And what was I going to do to make it better for them? And that is the genesis for me moving into politics. So Laura was about 9 months of age when I ran for local government in 2008. And my husband ran for local government in different wards, and we both got elected. So husband and wife team, side by side, but in local government, certainly not into the state parliament. And I got busy. I got busy working for issues. Went door knocking as a local councillor, trying to find the problems people were just living with because they didn't know how to fix them. And when I found out about them, I worked hard to fix them, to make their life better. And then the issue that kept coming up was an issue that actually was the responsibility of the state government. It was the methadone clinic in St Mary's at the time. And I realised as a local councillor I was powerless to change that issue. And that was the genesis, that was the light bulb moment for me to consider moving into the state parliament. And so in 2010, after hearing many people complain about this methadone clinic and the damage it was doing to the St Mary's community, just talked a lot with my husband at the time, because I never intended to go into politics full time, not at all. But I thought, you know what, if I'm really going to help even more people, business owners, school kids, residents, even the police whose time was being taken up by dealing with drug dealers and all the rest of it, I thought I've got to run and I've got to get elected into the state parliament and then work with the state government to fix this issue. And that's what I did. In 2011, ran as the Liberal candidate for the seat of Mulgoa. Up until that point, it was held by the Labor Party for 16 years. And when Barry O'Farrell was swept to power in 2011, I too won the seat for the Liberal Party. Had a 23.5% swing towards me, and with a lot of hard work and good government, have now won that in 2015 and also recently in 2019. So I'm moving into my third term of the state parliament. Now, that's my background. What I'd like to do now is talk about the issue that's right in front of us, which is the Reproductive Healthcare Reform Bill. And I do want to commend Peter Robinson, who mentioned before Reverend Niall got to speak about process and how process is so important. And what we've seen, what I have witnessed firsthand, is in relation to this bill, the process that should be followed, particularly with difficult or sensitive matters. Process for this particular bill has been discarded. Okay, let me give you a quick overview because not only is the content of the bill deeply, deeply troubling, but the process that this bill has undertaken up to this point has been appalling and has been a travesty of the parliamentary process, which is a slight not only on the members of Parliament, but it is a slight upon you, the citizens of New South Wales. So, as a quick overview, the MPs were sent an email on a Saturday evening with the bill attached. On the Sunday, the independent member for Sydney stood with the Liberal Minister for Health, Brad Hazzard and others, to announce that they were going to be introducing this bill to the Parliament this coming week. Parliament sits Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of a sitting week. So they made this announcement on the Sunday, and less than 2 business days later, the bill was meant to be introduced. And the plan was that government business would be swept aside for this particular independent bill to be debated in the lower house until it was done. Now, I've only been in Parliament 8 years. I've never known an independent bill to be treated with such favour, to be treated with such speed by the government as this bill has. So you can imagine many of us were not only completely shocked at the revelation that we had a senior minister of the government working on this bill and none of us knew about it, but then the speed that the government wanted to move this bill through the lower house to get it up to the upper house was astonishing. And it actually made me very, very, very upset and very angry, because we are talking about not just decriminalising abortion. This bill goes way beyond simply decriminalising abortion. It goes way beyond just codifying what currently is permitted to happen in New South Wales. It actually broadens the scope, and it lessens the checks and the balance in relation to women who are investigating and looking at their options. It has serious flaws. Okay, so when we're talking about an independent bill being pushed through the lower house at breakneck speed, even at the begging and pleading of some members, including myself, to the leadership of our government, saying, please don't do this so fast. We need time. We need our communities to actually understand what's being proposed. Please don't do this. We were given 1 week, and then it was going to come back the following week. So we were given 1 week, 5 business days, to actually try and get word out there what was happening, what was in the bill. And just to give you an example of not only how rushed this bill was in the lower house, but how flawed the bill is. On the Thursday, when we began debating amendments, I was the one that was leading a lot of debate on the amendments, and the person who was defending the bill on the other side of the house, that person, it wasn't the independent member for Sydney, Alex Greenwich, who stood there in the press conference and said, I'm going to introduce this bill. No, the person defending the bill was the Minister for Health. So we're in the same government, but we're arguing with each other across the floor. And then it got to the stage where even those that were supporting the bill, co-sponsoring the bill, were then writing on pieces of paper their own amendments to their own bill on the floor of the House while the debate's underway. It's just a bad process. And that's just when it went through the lower house. Now, what you heard Reverend Miles say about the upper house, the inquiry that was announced, the inquiry into abortion was given technically 5 days. The inquiry into animal cruelty was given 5 months. Now that alone should make most people in our community outraged. The fact that we are treating women and their babies and the medical profession so flippantly compared to animals. And I'm not advocating for mistreatment of animals, absolutely not. But in comparison, a human life and women's mental health and doctors' professions, as you've heard from Nick before, his wife is impacted by this bill. These are serious issues, and they deserve more than what has been handed to those people by this government. And that's why I've been so passionate in standing up for the flaws in this bill. So passionate, because we've seen what's happened in Victoria. They changed their laws, like what we've got here before us in New South Wales. They changed them 11 years ago. So we can look down on past our southern border and actually see what's going on. Okay, when you look at the data, it's very, very disturbing. They keep data. One of the amendments I wanted to get supported in the bill, in the lower house, was for data to be collected. Well, that was voted down. But then they moved an amendment that they would do a review in 12 months around if sex selection abortions were happening. And I said to them, how can you do a review if you've just voted down collecting data? Like, you're not making sense here. So it's a very, very problematic bill. It's very fraught with errors, with omissions, with key important issues failing to be identified and clarified in the bill for not only our medical professions, but also for the clinics that operate and for the women and for the children that they carry. Abortion is a very complex, it is a very sensitive and emotive issue, and it's one that should have been given much, much better care, concern and time than what this government has applied to this bill, as we've seen today. And for those reasons, I'm standing as firm and as strong as I am, because it's not just for the people now. It's not just for the women, the doctors now. It's for those that may be faced with this in the months and the years and the decades to come. And so what I want to share with you today is, I guess, a couple of the main themes that emerge from the Bible that actually inspire me as an individual, that encourage me as an individual. And I've actually used the word influence. And if you have a notepad or pen and paper or your phone, I would really love to encourage you just to write down what these thoughts and what these words that I've identified coming from the word influence. So it's, what do you call those things? Acronym? Thank you. Acronym. Thank you, John. Well done. Okay, influence. We are called to have influence. So I. The I in influence stands for just that. I. Me. You. Myself. Isn't there a movie? Me, myself and I? Can you say the word me?
Me.
I. You and I are called to influence. Full stop. When you wake up each morning, ask yourself, who and what will I influence today? Because that's what you're called to do. N stands for now. Present, right now, today. You and I are called to influence our world right now. Doesn't matter how old you are. Doesn't matter how young you are. Doesn't matter your background. Doesn't matter your abilities, or if you see yourself as having some sort of disability. It doesn't matter. You are here for this time right now, to influence your world right now. Now is the harvest time. Now is the time for gathering, as the Bible says in Proverbs 10 verse 5. There's only a few short years, and happy birthday to Reverend Noel, 85 years tomorrow, but I'm sure he'll say how that's gone really quick. I am 40 years of age. More than half of my life is done. More than half of it is over. There's no time to waste in doing good. Now, F from influence, faithful. This is one of the themes that has really guided my work life and work activities ever since I was a young girl in primary school. My mum used to clean houses for the very, very rich people in Newcastle, and she would do that during school hours, so that whenever we were home from school, my mum was home. And on school holidays, it was a great time because it was, we can sleep in, we can watch telly and have fun, but my mum still went to work. And after a couple of months of observing this, I actually began to feel guilty. I thought, here I am lazing around the house while Mum is out there, scrubbing floors, vacuuming, dusting, polishing. She's working hard and I'm doing nothing. So I actually started to go with my mum on my school holidays and help her clean these people's houses. I actually didn't think I think I met two of the people, but other than that, I didn't meet these people we were cleaning their house for. But my mum showed me how to clean, and she demonstrated that it doesn't matter if no one's watching, because she was home alone in these homes, these amazing homes. She worked her butt off, so to speak. She would finish the day in a lather of sweat. She worked and polished and scrubbed the floors. No one watched her do it. But she showed me that whatever your hand finds to do it with all your might. Ecclesiastes 19. So whether I was cleaning someone else's home, their bathroom, whatever it was, whether I was cooking chips in my part-time job, whether I was studying, whether I was helping someone doing chest physiotherapy who was on the verge of getting pneumonia, whether I was helping someone learn how to go up and down stairs after a knee replacement, whether I was typing a letter for a boss in an office, whether I was door knocking to find issues for people in the community as a counsellor, whether I was standing up and having meetings with ministers and arguing and demanding and urging for funding for certain issues, whatever my hand found to do, I did it with all my might. And that's what still guides me today, and I hope guides you and encourages you. And sometimes it's an important bit of oomph when you may feel a little bit lacking in energy or motivation. You know, do it with all your might, because ultimately we are doing it for our Saviour. He's watching all the time. L in influence, L, comes from Matthew 5 verse 16, which says, "Let your light shine before all men, that they may see your good works and acknowledge your Father in heaven." And as our world grows darker with a lot of pain, the wars, the tribulations, the suffering, there are a lot of people hurting, and that's growing in our communities. As a Minister for Mental Health just over 2 years ago, I would see this happen in our community, and it is devastating to watch people suffering and in fact grow in our communities, not lessen. And the suicides that we're seeing in our community, the mental distress we're seeing in younger and younger people, it is a crisis that's happening in our communities. Our world is getting sadder and more distressed, and while governments do everything they possibly can do and fund enormous amounts of money into programs and into support services, it still isn't fixing the issues. We're still battling these issues. And so therefore, as people of faith, as people who believe that we are, as humans, valuable and we are designed by a creator, we are worthwhile, we have worth in us. We have a duty, we have an obligation to let our light shine, to actually be different. As the world grows darker, if there's light, it will grow brighter just by the fact that the surroundings are getting darker. So let your light shine. Now more than ever, let it shine. Be seen to be different. We're not meant to be conforming to this world, the culture of this world. We are meant to be different. And that's okay. That's good. So let it shine. Let your light shine, because you will actually see people be drawn to you. If I can just give you an example. I was working, before I got into politics, in a company associated with Macquarie University, and I was leading a project to introduce ISO 9001 as a quality assurance system in that company. And I contracted a lady, a consultant, to guide me in this process. I've never done it before. And we would meet early in the morning, and I'd present her with the work I'd done to date, and she'd give me feedback and give me guidance for the next month ahead. And that was fine. And then we were probably in this work relationship for about 6 months. And then one morning she just sat in this meeting room that we had, and she just eyeballed me, and she just said, "Tania, what is it about you? You just always seem so peaceful. Why are you just so calm and peaceful? You've got a lot on your plate, it just doesn't make sense." So I was just able to share with her why it was that I had peace in my heart and in my life. We are meant to be different. We are meant to buck the culture of this world. You are meant to let your light shine. So let it shine. Don't stifle it. Let it shine. You, the you in influence, stands for the unknown. Now, I'm experiencing this now more than ever before, the unknown of life. How many would love to know what's going to happen in their world, in your world, say in 5 or 6 months' time, and next year, and then 5 years later? Like, you want to have some certainty that, yep, I'm going to get that promotion, yep, I'm going to have my house paid off, I'm going to pay off the credit card, yep, that will happen, then that will happen, then that will happen. Is there anyone else other than me that would like to actually have that assurance of the future? I'm on my own. Oh, one gentleman. Oh, there's another one. Yep, there's 2 more here. Oh, that's good. Another one. What I'm learning every day now is that life is the unknown. You just do not know what will happen in your world, what will happen in your health, what will happen in your workplace. You don't know. It is the unknown. But the great comfort we have, if we are people of faith and believing that our life is actually in God's hands, is that God knows. And there was an amazing scripture, it was a quote that was shared 2 weeks ago. Someone said, "I don't need to know the next steps I'm taking, because I'm following the one who does." Oh, and I thought that is priceless. That is powerful. In Psalm it says, Psalm 37, "The Lord makes firm the steps of the one who delights in him." It doesn't say the Lord makes firm the highway or the mile ahead. He makes firm the steps. One step at a time. And so whatever may be in your world right now, be assured, be comforted, be empowered that your steps are sure and that you're following the one who knows where he is going. and you can have great confidence in that. E, engaged. Be engaged in your world. Be connected. Be working. Be active. There's a lot of talk when I was growing up about praying. Let's pray, for people who do not know the Lord. Let's pray for those who are doing good works. Let's pray, and that is absolutely essential. Absolutely, we can't do much without prayer. But we're also called to act. We're called to do. We're called to be engaged. We're called to be involved, as Reverend Niall has in his life in the last nearly 4 decades. We're called to be connected in our world, engaged and working, so that people can see your good works. I mentioned earlier, be engaged, be connected. The N stands for neighbourhood, your sphere, your network, your community, the neighbourhood that you're in. I would hazard a guess that I'm probably not really going to ever come across all of your family, all of your friends and where you work, but you will. So please make sure to remain influencing your world. Please make sure that you are actively thinking and looking for ways to reach into your neighbourhood, into your sphere, into where God's placed you, because that's what I'm endeavouring to do in the sphere that I'm currently in. And I don't know what my future holds. I don't know. No one knows what their future holds. But while I'm here, while God's got me here, I'm going to remain an influence and do my best to serve Him and to be that light and to be that influencer in the place that He's got me in the sphere that I'm in the Liberal Party in New South Wales government. And C, courage. We'll have a few minutes of questions at the end if you like, but courage. C for courage. That I spoke about Esther in my maiden speech. So if you haven't yet read that, I encourage you to go and have a look at that on the New South Wales Parliament website. I spoke about Esther 4 verse 14. It says, perhaps you've come here for such a time as this. For such a time as this, an orphan girl elevated to be queen of that kingdom at that time, and she was a Jew, and there was a man, Haman, who was plotting to eradicate the Jews, which meant he would have to eradicate the queen. And she stayed silent. God would deliver His people, but she wouldn't survive. God would deliver His people, but maybe God's put her in the palace, talking to the king for such a time as this. Courage. She actually put her life on the line, because if she approached the king without being summoned, he could